Just give us your impressions of the markets. 4 straight days of trading in the red. What's going on?
Yeah, well, basically, I think the major factor that is behind the continuous downturn of the market is because investors are taking profit. Because if you look at it, basically, we find out that there is really no major event that one can adduce is the major reason behind the continuous downturn. And at the same time, I believe investors' confidence is a bit weak because even though a number of investors are showing increased interest in the Nigerian stock market at the moment, the interest they are showing, many are going in at very cautious prices. So, I mean, with these prices, we are unlikely to see an upward movement. So, I mean, until when we see a significant reversal of investors' confidence, then we are likely to see a continuous uptick of the market.
Right, now, Tajudeen, obviously the banks have been the subject of a lot of focus over the last few days, but what we've also seen in the last 24 hours is that the building material counters have also been having a few bad trading days. What's the problem there? All right, we seem to be having a few technical problems with Tajudeen Ibrahim of Stanbic IBTC as we try to sort that technical issue up. Let's just look at how other bourses have performed here in Africa. All right, we've got our line back up. In Nigeria, usually when lines drop, I'm told it's due to the weather. It's probably raining out there in Africa, which is auspicious by our traditions for the World Cup tournament tomorrow. Let it rain. Tajudeen Ibrahim of Stanbic IBTC, thank you very much for joining us. Again, I was asking you earlier on that we've focused a lot on the banks, but we've also seen the building materials counters not doing particularly well. What are some of the problems within the building materials sector?
Well, as for the building material sector, the major factor behind the result that we saw for a company like Ashaka, for example, is basically as a result of a conversion from conversion of their source of energy from LPFO based to coal based. So as a result of that, they lost a significant production days in 2009. So that basically affected production, and so we saw a revenue drop of about 20% for Ashaka, for example. But for other companies such as CCNN, we saw that the company was able to move its product in the market, and it recorded about 20% increase in revenue. So, I mean, the development there is not much of an economic problem, but more of more of a company-specific problem, like in the case of Ashaka.
Okay, let's continue to talk on this tack, Tajudeen. Some of these companies, beyond issues within management and shareholding issues, are questions about the costs of power supply in Nigeria and how that's eating into operational costs and profits ultimately when the results are released. How has that issue been considered in terms of the counters for building material companies?
Well, the issue of power for building material companies is basically a major issue, and it is as a result of this that a number of them have been trying to look for alternative source of power, which are pretty cheaper than the use of LPFO, for example. So basically, I do not see any short-term improvement in power, even though there is much effort by the government. So I see it as more like a long-term view. I mean, what may happen beyond the next 3 years. So where we may have a stable power supply to help the production of the manufacturing sector. But at the moment, what a number of the companies are doing is to shift to either gas or shift to coal, right, which are alternative sources of energy, which which will ensure that they are able to cut down costs.
All right. Also, Tajudeen, at the moment, we're awaiting finality as to the amendments proposed by the President in the budget for the next fiscal year. And within that, we'd want to see the extent to which government commits itself to more infrastructure spending. And if there's going to be more infrastructure spending, we should be seeing more for the construction sector and also more for the cement companies. So the projections that market analysts are having, or the forecasts for the cement industry going forward, is it positive or are people cautious?
Well, as per the budget and infrastructure, by the government, that basically will, obviously enhance improvement in the earnings of the manufacturing sector, such as the building materials industry. But the major thing here is that the implementation of the budget is unlikely to actually hit the growth that we're expecting. Because if we look at it from history, for example, last year and the previous year, we saw poor implementation of the budget. So if this is not addressed, it is unlikely that any infrastructure investment in the country will translate to, improvement in the earnings of these companies.
All right, Tajudeen, in 30 seconds, your top picks for cement companies?
Well, my topic for the sector right now is CCNN, and that is basically because we are seeing an upside potential of about 50% from the current price of about 21 naira. And it is actually supported by the fundamentals.